What's going on, everybody? You are watching Path of Ash. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, hey girl. Before we get started on the video, I do want to address my absence. I have not posted a video in like 5+ months, and I am so sorry for that. I just had a lot going on in life, but I'm back and I'm trying to do better with posting more content about my hair. So I just wanted to address the elephant in the room before we get into the video. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the do's and the don'ts for hair growth. As y'all can see, if y'all view my shorts, I've had a setback in my healthy hair journey for my heat trained hair. I had to get some of my hair cut. I'll make another video about that when I do my FAQ. So for those who don't know what my FAQ videos consist of, there are like what I feel like with my frequently asked questions about my heat trained hair, and that's when I get into doing a whole update of what's going on, what's new, and just giving y'all the whole rundown about my routine and everything like that. So stay tuned for that because that will be coming soon. So yes, y'all, today's video is going to be about the do's and the don'ts of hair growth. So the what to do and the what not to do. So like I like to do in my pros and cons videos, I like to get into the don'ts first because I want to tell like the negative side, so when we get to the good later, they can outweigh the bad. So let's get started with the don't. So for don't number one, and they're going to be 5 each, so they're going to be 5 don'ts and 5 do's. But don't number one, even though this is going to sound super simple, it's going to sound stupid and crazy, but don't number one is simply don't neglect your hair. So what I mean about neglecting your hair, I mean like simply ignoring your hair's needs. Like, for example, you know that you need to wash your hair, your scalp is flaky or your scalp is built up with product and you're not washing it. That's neglecting and ignoring your hair's needs. So other examples of neglecting your hair, or in better words, just ignoring your hair's needs, is not getting a trim when you do to get a trim, or like leaving that protective style in a little too long that you're not really taking care of your hair, like underneath like your braids or anything like that. Just pretty much just not kind of putting in that work to make sure your hair is healthy and thriving. So neglecting your hair is obviously a big no-no, because if you're not taking the necessary steps to make sure your hair is healthy and thriving, then your hair is going to do the exact opposite, which is going to lead to breakage and a lot of setbacks in your hair journey. So make sure you're just not neglecting your hair. I get it because I get lazy as well. Like my hair is in this little clip style because I'm supposed to be washing my hair. I was going to do it today, but I'm just going to set it back to tomorrow. So I understand being lazy with your hair, just not really feeling like doing anything, and you get caught up in a lot of other stuff that you don't really have the time for your hair. But just make sure you don't be in that slump too long, because if you are, then a lot of setbacks can happen, and that's not what we want. We want to retain length. So don't number one is do not neglect your hair. Make sure that you just come up with a routine so you can stay up on it. Make sure you're taking care of your hair's needs and whatnot, so you can have a happy, healthy hair journey. For those who don't know what over manipulation is, or overly manipulating your hair is, it is to like do a lot with your hair. So having protective styles is a good plus, but if they're too tight, or they're like doing way too much with like your scalp, your edges are causing a lot of tension and pulling, that's overly manipulating your hair. Also, with like using your daily styling tools like your combs and your brushes, if it's a lot of like brute force, or you have to do a lot too much, like putting a lot of tension on the hair, that's examples of overly manipulating your hair. So I count overly manipulating your hair as a don't, because the constant tugging and pulling, whether it's from combs, brushes, or protective styles, lead to breakage. And breakage is the opposite of hair growth or retaining length. Pulling, tugging, or teasing, or anything of the sort will not lead to any type of hair growth. It's only going to lead to setbacks, because that's just way too much roughness and toughness on your hair, and no one hair can sustain any of that. Now, some people have some strong, tough hair, but doing that over time is really going to lead to just brittle, weak breakage, all that stuff that we do not want. All right, so hair don't number 3 for me will be not moisturizing your hair enough. Moisturizing and sealing your hair is very important when it comes to retaining length, because lack of moisture can lead to dryness, which can also lead to breakage. So with that being said, it's very important to come up with a routine to moisturize your hair. Everyone's hair is different, so some people have to moisturize their hair every day, some people have to moisturize their hair every other day, or they can go 3 days while moisturizing their hair. You kind of have to find a routine that works for you. But yes, please moisturize your hair so your hair is not being brittle, weak, and breaking off. You have to make sure your hair stays hydrated and healthy. All right, so moving on to don't number 4. Don't number 4 for me, I would think, in my opinion, is not using products that's catered to your hair type, texture, and porosity. And a hair journey is very difficult, especially with the different types of hair or what you do in your hair, whether your hair is chemically treated or use a lot of heat like me, or you use your hair in your natural curly state. It's hard to find like the products that works for you, so it's a bunch of trial and error, so that's very understandable. But once you do get in the rhythm of having like a routine, I would suggest not to stray away from that, and to also use the products that are catered towards your hair. For example, when I started my heat training journey, I was so used to using my curly hair products, what I would use for my hair when it was in its natural curly state. But since I use a lot of heat, I have to kind of put more protein in my routine. I have to kind of use lightweight products that have silkening, softening elements in it. Also making sure I'm cleansing and clarifying my scalp a lot more than I had to when I was wearing my hair out in its curly state. It wouldn't be beneficial to me or helpful to me at all to continue using those curly products if I'm straightening my hair. Because say I put like a heavy cream, butter, or oil in my hair, and then I go straighten my hair is not going to be silky, it's going to be weighed down. With that being said, with the process of trial and error, you have to find out what works for you. You got to know your hair type, texture, porosity. I feel like I'm going to do another video about that to kind of explain like hair porosities and types and the needs of all the different ones, just so we can have like some little educational thing going on, because I didn't know. I had to do a lot of research about my hair texture, type, porosity, all of that type of stuff. And as I started to learn that, I felt that I was taking better care of my hair because I actually know what my hair needs. So you don't want to overdo it and use something that your hair doesn't need and then cause more harm done than good. All right, so hair don't number 5 may not apply to everyone, especially if you're a do-it-yourself girly, you follow the tutorials and you do your own hair. But hair don't number 5 for me will be visiting a salon that does not specialize in your type of hair. And what I mean by that, if you have type 4 hair and you want to go to, I don't know, I can't really explain it. Like if you have type 4 hair and you want to go to a salon, you have to really do your research and know if this person specializes in natural hair to be able to like cater to your hair's needs, or any other type for that matter. I just use type 4 because that's the texture that I have. And it's very scary when you go to a salon with type 4 texture, because you know a lot of people complain about the thickness and how coily it is. And when they do that, do not go back to them peoples, okay? Because they're supposed to be trained and specialized to deal with all types of hair. So when they start to complain about your hair while you sitting in that chair, you either need to get up from that chair and leave, or you need to be like, I'm not booking with this person anymore. But that's a whole different conversation. But yes, do your research on these salons. If you have chemically treated hair, do your research with these salons. If they have a thing like when you book and it says a consultation, write everything down about your hair, get a feel of your stylist, especially when you're meeting someone new. Now if you have someone that you trust, then that's good, but a lot of things change, and I'm going to make this in my FAQ video about me going to like the Dominican salons, because that was a thing that I love to do, but that has changed now, and I'll explain that later. But yes, do your research, make sure you be comfortable with your stylist, make sure they specialize in your hair type, texture, and everything like that, because yes, they're professionals, but a lot of people are rough and do a lot of crazy things with your hair. And if you're like me, you want to trust the professionals and you don't want to tell them what to do, but you know, you do got to speak up sometimes, because if it's about your hair and it's going to cause some damage along the road, then you do need to speak up about that. But yes, I'm gonna keep saying it, do your research, really get a feel for your stylist. Try to go with people who specialize in natural hair or chemically treated hair or damaged hair. Like if they can really work with that, then yes, do those consultations. Do everything you can to get all the information before you sit down in them folks' seat, because some folks be playing in your head, and then that can be a setback as well. We don't want that, because yes, you would think, oh, leave it in the hands of a professional. But some of the professionals aren't like the OG professionals, okay? You got hairstylists and then you got them OG beauticians, all right? There's some differences. There's some differences. All right, so we're finally at the do's. I feel like the don'ts went by kind of quick because I didn't want to like overly explain those don'ts, because that's what we're supposed to be staying away from. I just put those out there to be aware of what not to do. So now let's move in and what we do. So do number one, to contradict the don't, we are going to start learning our hair type or hair texture and porosity. So once you do this, you would know the right products to use, and this is going to set you up for success. So understand a little bit things. I said I'm going to make a video to kind of give like a little knowledgeable kind of fact type of thing so you can understand that, or you can do your own research in the meantime. Once you understand that, that's when you start to build your routine up. And once you build your routine up, then that's when we can start getting all into the benefits and knowing that our hair is going to be healthy and thrive. I do want to give a little snippet because I have been using some terminology. So your porosity type or porosity level of your hair is how much your hair absorbs water or moisture or products or things like that. So I know people with low porosity hair, when they do run their hair under the water, it takes a long time for their hair to kind of absorb the water. It just seems like their hair is like not really, the water is like rolling on top of the hair, and then finally it'll start to absorb it slowly. When you have high porosity hair, your hair can just suck up all that water, your hair gets drenched fast, but I noticed that your hair dries faster. I have high porosity hair, so my hair soaks up the water, and then once I'm out of it, my hair is like dry. My hair dries completely fast. My hair is very porous. That's where the porosity, that's like the root word of it. So yeah, that's kind of gives you a little bit of rundown, but I will make a better video to get more deep into it, like I said. But yes, knowing the facts about your hair is going to be beneficial in the long run, which is going to lead to promoting growth and lymph retention. Do number two, for me, in my opinion, will be establishing a routine and staying consistent. So to piggyback off of do number one, once you understand your hair's needs, then you can build a routine. Now this is going to be trial and error, like I explained in the don't section. There's going to be some things you'll be like, this ain't really for me, or there's going to be some things you could be like, yes, this is a complete staple, I will do this. But once you get that and you build that routine up, the consistency will pay off. Like anything, consistency is key. Practice makes perfect. So you have to keep building up the routine, keep trying it, doing it over and over and over again. And once your hair gets used to everything, then everything's going to be a lot smoother from that point on. But first you have to establish that routine, and then you have to stick with it. So like establishing wash days, for example, you see what's best for you. If you realize that your scalp, or you get product buildup or anything like that within a week, then you wash your hair once a week. If you feel like you can hold off, then you wash your hair every 2 weeks, but you have to stick to that. You have to oil your scalp. You could do that on like an every 3-day basis, or you could do that like on a once a week basis. You have to figure out what your hair needs, and then once you figure that out, then you have to build a regimen and stick to it. All right, so moving on to hair do number three. Hair do number three is to stay on track of your trims. Contrary to the beliefs and all this stuff that's being spread out here, trims are important. Now, I do believe that you don't have to trim your hair on a schedule. I feel like you should trim your hair wherever you see fit, or whenever you get the split ends to trim your hair. But just make sure you are staying on track with your trims. We have to cut off the dead ends, got to cut off that damage, so our hair could be healthy, flowing, free. And when the new growth grows through, everything is going to be full. It's not going to be weighed down by split ends, and then the split ends splitting further up the hair shaft, and you have to cut off more. So if you like me, I don't really like the whole like trimming inches off at a time. I'm a fan of dusting, like cleaning up the ends, making sure they're nice, neat, and healthy. And with dusting is you're trimming off like centimeters at a time, which is more frequently, at a more frequent rate, shall I say, instead of waiting to like a month or so and then trimming off length in inches. So just make sure you are keeping track of your trims. Do whatever fits you, but just make sure you are getting those dead ends off so that healthy hair can just flow and be free without all that scraggles and all that stuff weighing it down and causing more damage in the long run. So to do number four is protective styling. Now, I do know in the don'ts I did talk about over manipulation and how that's a no-no to do to your hair, but protective styling is very beneficial for hair growth. Protective styling helps a lot because your ends are tucked away, all of your hair is put into a style. You're not doing like the daily manipulation of combing, brushing, detangling. Everything is kind of just out of your or off your shoulder, not rubbing against your clothes. So protective styling is very, very beneficial. But like I said, do not try to like overly manipulate your hair when you're doing these protective styles. Stay away from tight styles. Stay away from things that like pull away from the edges or anything that's like too much tension. Try to do a low manipulation style, like a low bun. It don't have to be like tightly slicked back, but like a low bun that's in a loose kind of ponytail, or just don't use ponytail holders at all. Do your little claw clip styles, just tucking that hair away. You can do a top knot bun, just make sure it's loose and not pulling too much away from the edges. Or if you want to do the braids, just make sure that they're not super tight and a lot of tugging and pulling, and that your hair can take that. Because I want to be a braid girly so bad because the braids are so cute, but I noticed every time that I did braids I was losing edges. And also with braids, my scalp will get very sensitive and dry, and I will oil, I will wash and things like that, but just with like certain hair, certain braiding hair, it just wasn't for me. And when I did take the braids out, a lot of hair was breaking off. Now I know some of it was probably shedding because like I'm not like doing my hair every day and your hair sheds a lot, but I just can't stand getting globs and balls of hair out after I take braids out. So I just retired the braids, y'all. I did, but that didn't work for me. But braids can work for you. Just try to make them to be a lot looser. Leave out a lot of your edges. Don't be putting them edges in them braids. Yeah, like do what works for you. Keep the hair protected in a way from, you know, daily damage, but also be mindful when your hair is in those protective styles to do what you need to do, like washing and cleansing your scalp, oiling. Make sure you still have a routine even though your hair is in a protective style. And last but not least, hairdo number 5 will be taking care of your scalp. Make sure your scalp is healthy. And what I mean by that, make sure there's no product buildup on your scalp that's like blocking anything. Make sure that your scalp is also moisturized and not too dry. Make sure that you are doing the right thing, using the right shampoos, whether it's a clarifying shampoo or a moisturizing shampoo. Just make sure your scalp is healthy. Your hair grows from your scalp, so you have to take care of your scalp, which will also go to make sure you're not putting too much tension on your scalp, because you can cause damage. You can cause a lot of hair loss in any places on your scalp with too much tension on it, which can also lead to traction alopecia, which is a common thing that people have. So just really be mindful of how you're treating your hair and how you are treating your scalp. So yes, taking care of your scalp is very important. There are a lot of things out there, like if you struggle with a lot of dandruff, there are a lot of scalp treatments and scalp scrubs that have tea tree oil in them that can help with the itching and the dryness. So try to like do your research about that. Also, if you have like psoriasis of the scalp and things like that, or any type of other scalp issues, I would recommend going to a dermatologist and getting a scalp analysis. Just make sure that you're doing everything to make sure your scalp is healthy, clean, hydrated, and at its healthiest potential, because that's where your hair grows from. So if you want healthy hair, you have to have a healthy scalp. So yes, please take care of your scalp. So yes, y'all, we're finally at the end of the video. Those were all the do's and the don'ts for health and hair growth and length retention. I hope y'all all enjoyed the video. I will see y'all all in the next one, and I do promise to dig deep into more like education about hair, porosity, and all those things in the video in the future. But I will see y'all all in the next one. Bye.